All right, well, welcome everybody. We're very pleased to be here for this joyous occasion. It's been a long time in coming. I guess we'll ask our speakers to have two microphones, one in the hand, one on the lapel. And just by way of kind of introductory remarks, we're here today to talk about paradigms. Here I have paradigms. One is 1965, and the other is 1964. There's a very significant difference between these two paradigms, and that's kind of what we're here about. The 1964 dime would buy you a gallon of gas today. The 1965 dime would buy you. Actually, I can't think of what it would buy you.
Not much.
Bubble gum.
Bubble gum? Maybe a stick of bubble gum. So anyway, we're very pleased to have you here. We are very pleased with the support that we've received from the city, from the Planning Commission, from the City Council. I think that's kind of shown here today. We'd like to begin with a benediction, or invocation rather, on our proceedings here. I've asked Nathan Welch of Equity United to offer that for us. Nathan, if you would mind coming forward. And we'll get you wired up here. So you put that.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful this Saturday morning to be gathered together. As members of this community, we care deeply about the principles of liberty and about the importance of transacting with integrity. We're grateful for that hand in our lives and for their guidance and protection, for the privilege it is to live in this great country. We're grateful for the laws that have been established and for the foundation of principles that provide for that liberty. Pray that thou will bless all of us in our hearts, these principles and our conviction to live these principles and to apply them in wisdom in our lives. Pray that thou wilt continue to protect and guide those who are put forth so much effort to provide this foundation that has been established here with the United Precious Metals Association and those that are affiliated therewith. We're grateful that thou hast allowed for legislation to proceed forward. I pray that it will continue to do so to help enable us to have the options that we need to be able to transact in integrity. We pray for thy Spirit to be over these proceedings and within our relationships, that we will strengthen the relationships and those bonds, and that we will have the wisdom to discern how to work together to continue this great work. That thou will bless those who need to continue to join with us, that thou will inspire their minds and help them play the roles that are important for them to play. Again, we thank you for all of the blessings we've been given. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Nathan. I should just say a brief word about Equity United. Nathan is kind of the founder of, I guess what I would refer to as a think tank. They're just located kitty corner right over here, looking back at the forward thinking of our forefathers and progenitors. They're involved in a number of different really important projects, one of which is the equity law effort. that's spearheaded by Paul Savage right here. He's actually sharing space with us in the building. So he's looking at, again, some time-tested principles in law, commerce, and so forth to help provide guidance to people that are looking for those kinds of ideas. So thank you, Paul, and Ian, for being here. We would next like to honor our country, and I've invited Representative Mark Fincham, who will be addressing us a little later today at our member meeting. He's from Arizona and has the distinction of having passed the most recently adopted legal tender act in the nation. Third time's a charm. You know, swing and a miss, home run. So we really appreciate Mark's effort down in the land south of us here. And so I would ask that we all rise, and Mark will lead us in the pledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn to face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. So our next, I would like to actually ask the chairman of the board of the United Precious Metals Association, who is our honored guest today, and UPMA generally is our guest here. These are the premises of Legal Tender Services, PLC, which has the privilege and opportunity of servicing UPMA and its mission. And I'd like to ask Abe Day, who was the original director and the original member of UPMA. From that, we've grown into an organization of several thousand and managing assets and transactions in sound money. And he'll explain a little bit about what we mean when we say sound money. So Abe, if you could step up here and share your thoughts.
Morning. Growing up in Salt Lake City during the 1980s was a very interesting time for me. For several summers, my job was to get up at 4:30 in the morning and travel to a bakery and bag donuts to sell door-to-door to businesses all over the valley. I carried them around in a basket and attached them to a strap that went around my neck. I built a lot of character, as you can imagine. I got to learn hundreds of businesses, how they operate, and how they start their day. And after selling my donuts, I would count my money and give it to my father, who was proud of us for helping with the family budget. Every so often, I would notice that sometimes I would get a quarter or a dime that would have that little copper band around it. I was taught by my parents that those coins were more valuable because they were silver. This fascinated me, and I occasionally would go to a local coin shop on 21st South to buy a rare coin or two, because even at that young age, I recognized there was something special about them. They were worth more than other coins, and it was like a quiet voice telling me something was special and something we lost in the past. Well, my parents weren't able to tell me at the time why we stopped using silver coins and gold as money in our country, but later as an adult, I discovered why we learned when I learned that the certain government policies and financial institutions have carefully and purposely phased them out of existence, giving way to endless spending, inflation, and debt. I think I'll hold that closer to my mouth. It's a little loud. Okay. Fortunately, we are living in a time of restoration, especially a restoration to the principles of liberty and independence. This, I believe, is due largely to the connectivity of the internet, and many have reawakened to the spirit of this country, the Constitution, and what America is supposed to be. We are a nation of united people, not divided. A singular culture of independent people from every walk of life. We are melted together in a pot of equal opportunity to be the most prosperous, free, independent country in all of human history. We can only be dismantled by the poisonous venom of division and segregation that is so frequently used against us, even in this, our very day. What helps us stay unified, despite our vastly different personalities, is that with our freedom, we are able to take advantage of our individual talents, minds, and abilities to create services, products, and opportunities to all people. And from this has come the most innovative, diverse, affordable products and services the world has ever known. This is what I would call our united economy. It unifies us. An economy in simple terms is our ecology. It's how we are able to get along and live a happy life. It consists of two basic things: the freedom of people to trade goods and services with each other based on their needs and wants. And the second part of the economy is the money that we buy or trade those goods with. 50% of our economy is the money that we use to purchase our goods with. 50% of our economy has over time been aggregated into the hands of a very few people, most of whom we don't even know their names. Our money, which used to consist of real value, has now been transformed by a sort of alchemy into nothing but paper, plastic, electric, binary code that takes no real labor to create. And I fear that one day the value of these forms of money will disappear entirely. Poof, gone. So Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution states that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debt. I'll repeat that. No state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debt. The Constitution, a divinely inspired contract, was created to make a more perfect union between the various states. This document is the supreme law of the land. It is this document that gives us the balanced government that was to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it was the catalyst that created this great united economy. Until we, as independent people, take back the 50% of the economy that has been foisted from us, that part of the economy that gives us stability of using real, honest money for the transactions between each other, we will ever be slaves to the whims of overinflated money, ever-diminishing returns on savings, and endless economic bubbles growing larger and larger, sucking in capital away from the industries that truly should have it. A few years ago, I approached Larry Hilton to help me create a way to pay my contractors in gold and silver. I was so elated when he informed me that it was absolutely doable. Because of the passing of the law in Utah recognizing constitutional money once again, the United Precious Metals Association could and was created. Finally, after 50 plus years, we have a way to use gold and silver money again. With the immense help of legal tender services, who have created this facility to house UPMA's services, we now have a building unlike any other in the United States, and possibly in the whole world. A place where you can deposit and exchange gold and silver with others as a currency once again. These are exciting times. This is a time of restoration. And this is only the beginning. We have a lot of work to do. The biggest challenges ahead are to get America to remember how to use gold as money again. If they do, an extremely large portion of their wealth and freedom will be restored once again. I believe gold and silver as money is in our DNA, and I believe we can light that fire once again. If you have a business or a service, start taking gold and silver as money. It's not that hard. Work with us at UPMA to make this happen. If you can take paper, credit cards, Apple Pay, and Bitcoin, you can start taking constitutional money as well. It's legal and lawful gold, silver dollars It's pure Americana. It's who we are and who we are supposed to be. This is my hope and prayer this day. Thank you for all your support, faith, and patriotism, and congratulations to all who have made this historic day happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those inspiring and accurate assessments of our situation. I first met Mayor Wimmer in the City Hall, where he spends a fair amount of time. And we started talking a little bit about what we've been working on here. And he started recounting to me stories of gold in Lindnar Hills. Whether or not we fully appreciate it, gold is actually, refined gold, is Utah's greatest import by almost more than export, by almost more than double the next commodity. And gold mining, silver mining is part of our history here. And maybe we'll get a few stories on that, I'm hoping, because they were absolutely riveting. So without any further ado, I'd like to ask Mayor Wimmer to come up here and share a few thoughts with us at this time.
Yeah, there you go. There he goes. Up. All right, great. You always have to start with a joke, right? So what does the mama buffalo tell her son on the first day of school as he leaves to go to school? Bye, son. Yeah, I didn't say it was a good joke. I just said it was a joke. I'm pleased to be here today and have an opportunity to say a few words. It's a great opportunity to work with the folks here. You see the facility that has gone through the Planning Commission and the City Council. The design is a pleasing one, and we had an easy, I don't want to say easy, but always a pleasant experience in operating with these folks and permitting the business here in town. We're glad to see them come here, and I do have a couple of stories. One of them I will tell you about an old Indian that used to live in American Fork. Now, you notice I said American Fork. Although I'm from American Park, I can say American Fork. But the old Indian used to live on the edge of town on the north side in a relatively cheap, small home. And he would take off and start to go north, and there would always be somebody following him. Because when he came north, he came up through Alpine, came up through the creek bed, and then up over the divide. And when he came back, he always had some silver with him. And that's how he made his living, was to bring that silver back and trade it for goods and services in American Fork. He did that for quite a few years. Now, people said, we've got to find out where he's getting the silver from. So actually, they did have people that designated to follow him all the time, but they never did find out where it's at. Now, if you want to know where that little mine is that we used to dig at, come and see me, and I'll show you where it's at on the hill. Now, I don't know if very many of us would get up there today, but it's supposed to be the one that he would mine just enough silver out of to make a living. Later on, the American Fork Canyon became quite a producer, the mining district up there. And I have the report that shows all the gold and silver that came out of American Fork Canyon. Precious metals has been part of this scene for a long time. The soldiers from out at Camp Floyd, changed later to Camp Crittenden, used to come into the mountains here and look for it, and that's where you found the American Fork, that ore and gold. I can tell one quick story to you about one that everybody may know, but George King was a miner that went up Armadillo Hill and opened the Wyoming Tunnel. The River Hill is a fragmented structure, so you'll hit a vein of ore and you follow it up the stope for a while and then it disappears. You don't know which direction it went. Well, they were running out of money, and so they decided to close the mine. And one of the foremen there, a guy named Gurney from Lehigh, had been tripping over a rock at the entrance of the mine for years. It would stand up a little bit higher than the railroad tracks, and they don't know why they put it on. But he tripped over as he was coming out of the mine for the last time. George King had come to American Fork, gathered up the final payroll to pay the miners off. As he tripped over it, he said, "That's it. I'm going to blow that up." And so he took a stick of dynamite and they put it down underneath where the rock had a crack in it and blew it. And when it blew, what happened was it opened up a pure silver vein that went up the hill inside the mine, and it was so rich and so large. What they did is they put planks and built a bulwark in front of it with a gate on it. They sent 2 miners up there, and they would just shovel this silver ore down, and they'd put it in sacks, like flour sacks, sew it up, they'd throw it on the wagon, and skid it off the hill. And the Ting mine did very well until that played out again later on. They closed the mine. But that was not what happened to the Ting was he was up there in the winter working on these books, and an avalanche came down and pinned him through his desk with a big piece of timber that killed him. So they put him on the toboggan in the middle of the winter, brought him 27 miles down to American Fork where they read his will, where his wife came in from New York City, sat down and read the will and said, "I want to be buried on top of Miller Hill." So they put him on this toboggan and took him 27 miles up the hill again and buried him. So if you go up on Miller Hill today, you'll see a small grave that still is maintained and has a fence around it. It's George King's grave. So those are a couple of stories about mining here that brought minerals in, and if you know much about what's going on in Utah, a lot of the gold that is coming out of Utah has been on sites like where Barrick reworked the Mercer dumps out there, and they had stacks of gold because at the time when they originally smelted the gold and worked through that, it was a very poor process, and now they use a cyanide heap leach method, which they put much more gold on it. Well, it's a great privilege to have these folks in town. It's a great privilege to be here this morning, and it's a great privilege to be an American in a country where we do enjoy more freedom and more opportunity than any place in the world. And I know the paradigms I want to be paid for. When I check out of Ridley's, I want those 64 dimes, not those other ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, hopefully what we're doing here will be similarly explosive, to the economy. But we appreciate that. I'd now like to call on Judy Pickell to join me up here, if you would. Today's event would not have happened without Judy. I'd like to ask y'all to give her a little round of applause. Judy is a strong advocate of alpine and alpine growing in good and positive ways, and apparently she saw something in what we were doing here and wanted to help out with this event. So what we'd like to do now is just have an opportunity for a few folks to have a photo before we actually, with the mayor, if that's all right, before we actually cut the ribbons. So we do have a number of dignitaries here. I'd like to ask Ken Ivory to come up. I don't know if Kevin, did he have to take off? Oh, okay. So we do have Ken here as a representative of the Utah legislature. Like Steve Prosper to come up, if you would, please. Yeah. And do we have any other city folks here? Yes, please, Ron. Yeah, and then we have Tim Irwin, Highland City Council member. If you'd come up as well. And let's have our initial picture with some of our government officials, and then we'll move on from there. We'd like to involve our board members in this as well. And just, if you stay, but yeah. So let's get the mayor in the center with Judy and the scissors, and we'll get you in a. Yeah, just get in there. Let's get those chairs out of the way. Okay, we've got Jesse Alexander. Here's our photographer. So if you could just kind of organize them how you want them and take a few. Take a few seconds. Well, we'll do that later. Yeah. So let's.
The amount I'm trying.
So I hope you got that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, kind of. I think that would be good. Yep. Perfect.
Larry, you're not going to be in the.
Larry should be in there.
Well, no, this is the government. This is the government.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Oh, I get it now.
Okay, great. Can we have Abe Day now and members of the UPMA board that are here come on up and let's have it get another shot. And Judy, you're in all these. Sorry, yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, maybe I'll Okay, now the goofy one.
Photo bomb. Everybody just scoot this way.
Everybody's going to do this. Okay.
This is one of the precious moments.
Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Okay, anybody else want their picture with the mayor? This is your opportunity.
Be better than the post office.
Oh, UPMA staff. Yeah, LTS staff. LTS staff. Let's get Jeremy. And we've got some Becca. And where's Kristen? Okay, we have, come over, stick your, yeah, Chris is there, just kind of, yeah. Yeah, he's gonna peek around. Now where's Kristen? Okay.
Keep that relationship.
All right, so we got Chris right there. He's gonna be going like this. So you take okay. Okay, great. All right, and then let's just have our Equity United people just come up here real quick for a shot. Yeah.
No, we'll just keep it down. Members that are
All right, so let's just get a few of those shots and then we'll. Okay, excellent. Okay, so before let me just mention here. Okay, let me just mention. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the ribbon. The mayor's going to cut the ribbon, and then we will have an opportunity for tours. Because of the size of the facility, it's made for dealing with just a few people at a time. We would ask that you go over and enjoy our reception over here in the adjacent part of the building. We've got some treats there, and then Robin will bring you over for tours if you're interested. So she'll be over there, and then she'll bring over small groups one at a time. We'd like to start with Judy and with the mayor and with Steve yeah, right. let's have kind of the city contingency get the first tour, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Judy, would you help the mayor and we'll get this done? Take a lot of pictures of this. I want to look on.
Actually, in fact,
Yeah.
required certain types of laws, certain